Welcome to today's panel on PIX, DREX, and crypto. I wanted to briefly introduce myself. I'm Sarina Gowland. I'm Argentinian. I work for Shift Markets. Shift Markets is a blockchain infrastructure company that helps different institutions get crypto enabled with our exchange solutions, liquidity provision, and market-making technology. Without further ado, I'm thrilled to guide this relevant discussion today, where we'll analyze the Brazilian scenario, which is the largest in the region, with its regulations, digital currencies, and integrations with crypto. So, guys, let me start with Aaron. Aaron will provide us with an overview on the Brazilian regulation, and also he will speak a little bit about DREX and CBDCs.
Yeah, so my name is Aaron Stanley. So I work for Filecoin Foundation. I'm also the founder of a media platform called Brazil Crypto Report, which is like a newsletter, podcast platform that provides English language coverage of what's happening in the Brazil market. I also do a bit of coverage of some other Latin American markets as well, but primarily Brazil. So on the regulatory front in Brazil, things are moving along pretty nicely. It's generally being perceived as one of the more innovative markets and stances by regulators worldwide. There is enabling legislation on the books that was passed in late 2022, and basically this legislation has enabled, or it's still being in the process of being rolled out, being formally codified by the central bank, which is going to be the regulator. There's a consultory period that's going to be rolled out in the coming, probably next month. And there'll be a consultory period with the market, and then the market's expecting that sometime in the next 6 months we'll have a formal kind of VASP licensing regime that's being rolled out in Brazil in particular. And this has been sort of in the works for several years now, and the market's pretty excited about this. We've been pushing for it for a while, and the Central Bank of Brazil is regarded as like a very, like they've done their homework on understanding how these markets operate. What is the best way to be regulating crypto exchanges? What is the best way to tackle questions like asset segregation? And they've been very proactive in going to the market and saying, you know, like, you guys are the experts. Like, you come to us, tell us, like, what do you think the best way is that we should be designing this regulatory structure? So that's in the works, and we'll have some news on that in the next 6 months or so. And the other interesting thing coming out of the Central Bank of Brazil is a project called DREX, which is formerly known as the Digital Real, but this is called DREX, and this is a CBDC tokenization platform. And I do realize this is a Bitcoin conference, so like this is not like an endorsement necessarily of CBDCs, but like it is being built, and it is quite an innovative platform. Like they are designing this to basically be a hybrid tokenization CBDC environment, sort of a wholesale retail sort of hybrid model. And they're building this all on Hyperledger Bazoo, which is an EVM compatible like enterprise grade chain. They're just about to launch actually the second phase of the pilot for this. It's actually in the process of being launched right now. And the first phase concluded back in May or June-ish. There was 16 different financial consortiums that were onboarded onto the platform. Most of the private banks in Brazil, private sector and public sector banks, basically every major financial institution, your Itaú, PTG Pactual, Santander, Nubank, like all these guys are involved in like the consortium for this CBDC project. And even some like crypto native companies like Mercado Bitcoin, I think Fireblocks is involved in a few capacities. And so basically the second phase of the testing for this will be going live here shortly with some additional market participants joining the pilot. And with that, I'll kind of yield with that. That's sort of the overview, but maybe we'll go on to the next one and we can talk about that more later if folks want.
Great insights, Aaron, thank you. So now, Pedro, building on Aaron's response, given the rising interest in stablecoins and central banks' digital currencies in LATAM, how do you see the roles evolving and landscape?
Okay, thank you, Ari. So my name is Pedro. I'm the regional head of Latin America of Coines, and I am also working in a software development company in the blockchain ecosystem. So in that company, I'm in charge of in Latin American business development. So from the point of view, I want to give a little bit context to the people here. The central banks is starting to explore this. Maybe the first bank that started on this was the Central Bank of Uruguay, that is starting all this movement in the region. They are start exploring. I want to clarify something. They are starting just exploring, not issuing. They understand, or they want to understand, every country want to understand what is the fit of the technology in each use case for each country. So, in my experience, when in the work that I did in the last maybe 3 or 4 years, in the different meetings that I had with different central banks, we have particularities in different countries. For example, begin an example very close to here. In Paraguay, they are looking and they are waiting for the suggestion for the monetary fund. They are looking what is doing the other countries. They are looking what is doing the Brazil, because Brazil leads all this movement in Latin America. Brazil is an example. Brazil has a very good instant payment system. So in the other side, Chile have been published 2 guidance about the technology. They recently published the second version, and they are starting to evaluate if they will go to see next year or 2026 to start to doing the exploration. In the case of Chile, they just did a guidance, just text. For example, in Colombia launched a pilot recently, and yesterday actually in Colombia 4.0, that is a government event, they talk about the success of the pilot of blockchain exploration. In Colombia, they don't want to issue a CBDC because they don't need it. They say publicly they don't need CBDC because they will go to launch the Breve, the PIX, the Colombian PIX. In the August of 2025, they will go to launch this. But in Colombia, they want to move forward to a continuous exploration, the blockchain technology for tokenizing bonds, for tokenizing title of the republic, and so on and so on. So they just want to explore the wholesale part of the CBDC, not the retail part. In Central America, we have a country that they are already exploration. They have a pilot. They will go to announce very, very, very close in these weeks. So they explore the use case was specifically in the remittances, because some countries all the countries in Central America works or receive a lot of remittances. They also are exploring specifically the instant payments, because it's a mandatory for all the central banks start to implement instant payments in all the countries. So in Mexico, of course, the central bank is exploring these things. I want to be very clear, as I said before, they are very, very careful with the exploration in Colombia. Don't touch fiat. By far, in any other country, touch fiat. Just Brazil that is doing the pilot, they issue the DREX, and they touch fiat in some parts in the tokenization platform CBDC, as Aaron said. So, but from my point of view, the next year will go to be very important, because we go to starting to see more exploration in the deeper side. For example, maybe in Guatemala, maybe in Dominican Republic, or in Costa Rica, they will go to start to moving forward to exploring the things. But in these tables, for close my intervention, as the user thinking is not the right thing, because they are very concerned about the privacy. The privacy of the user for the central bank is very important. That is the reason that they so carefully when they are starting to exploring this, and they are starting to announcing this in the media, because all of us as a user, we are very careful about our privacy. And so if the CBDC looks like we lose totally the privacy. So that is the reason that some banks like Colombia don't go to move forward with the retail by far. They continue looking for in the wholesale. But the other countries are very careful with this. And this is my personal vision. So for finalize, in the stablecoin side, it's very important. Because in the stablecoin side, where the banks are starting to issue or starting to authorize this kind of issue, we go to see a lot of adoptions in different countries. Because for some part, we go to adopt the private banks, the USDT, the USDT, and the other stablecoins that are very popular in the ecosystem. But also, they will go to start to issue their own stablecoins with their own regulatory things internally in each country. So when that happens, the ecosystem of the adoption, from my point of view, will go to explode.
Excellent, thank you, super interesting. Okay, so now shifting a little bit the focus, Roselo, PIX and payment systems. So PIX has become a massive success in Brazil. So we all know that there are millions of daily transactions. So that said, what are the key factors behind its rapid adoption, and how do you see it evolving in the next couple of years?
Well, first of all, thanks to have me here. Probably a lot of people seeing PIX is a huge successful, PIX is doing a lot of things, and PIX was introduced on a very good moment, because when you have the pandemic in Brazil, was at the moment that the Brazilian central bank put the PIX out there. And what's mandatory to every single bank to jump on the technology. That allowed every single Brazilian to have an account and to start to use, and PIX is free, at least for now, is free for end users. Some companies, they already started to pay as a corporate account for those banks. That system, because people were now paying with PIX everywhere in Brazil, PIX are doing more volumes than MasterCard and Visa together in Brazil. So, and more has been used. Same thing, and the cool thing with the integration with the system now, like we did in Brazil, being able to build a bridge that connects USDT straight with PIX, that allowed now countries like Argentina, it's more than 4,000 transactions a day that Brazilians are coming to Argentina, paying with PIX, and the merchant here in Argentina is receiving USDT within 8 seconds. So that possibility was amazing. Good thing that the way PIX works allowed us to do this integration. And now we are seeing foreigners going to Brazil, and straight from their app, a bank, for example, or there is a company here, Belo, they use our technology. Crypto markets use our technology. MegaPix, we're going to start to use our technology soon, and allow their users to go to Brazil and be connected straight on this new payment network, which is amazing the way it works, because it's a foreigner or someone from Russia going to Brazil and just ask, I'm going to pay by PIX, by a coconut water in Copacabana Beach, and be able to pay straight from the app, from their bank from Russia. This is a fantastic way to do this integration with blockchain, and everything is on chain. There is no custodial service. So for the user, it's very nice to be able now to use USDT straight to pay anything in Brazil. And one good thing about it now is the digital banks in Brazil start to look now as USDT as a way to provide a dollar account, a digital dollar account. And Pedro said something about the privacy. That was a big problem also on the payment system. When you introduce a payment system, you need to have privacy. A lot of people don't realize, especially the Bitcoin maximalistas, they don't understand one thing. If you go to a place and then you say, I want to use my Bitcoin to pay a coffee. Well, if you are crazy enough to do it, then do it. But on the moment that you pay that thing, I will be able to see your balance. I will be able to see your transactions. So a payment system has to also be worried about that. I cannot allow someone to go to a blockchain and see the transactions. Now the digital banks in Brazil finally have a solution. We are using USDT over Liquid, which allows them to provide a dollar account running on top of a blockchain. Liquid is a layer 2 on top of Bitcoin, and there is an entire privacy there. User A can transfer to user B, and nobody going to see balances, no one going to see transactions. So PIX, the way it was implemented, actually is a very good way for the individuals to start using more and more cryptocurrencies, more and more stablecoin. And I really recommend everyone to have a look, to go to Brazil, check how we've been using that. And the cool part now, you can use your USDT in Brazil.
Thank you very much, Rogelio. Super insightful. Okay, George, so let's move into infrastructure. Given Brazil's evolving landscape in digital asset regulation and payment system, how is the technology for custodians adapting to this situation?
Great question, Sarina. Thank you. Well, I'll start with a quick intro. I'm Jorge Borges. I lead Fireblocks for Latin America. And we are a technology provider for business and institutions that want to safely interact with digital assets. So if you have an account in an exchange or in your neobank and you have access to crypto or any other digital assets, we are possibly the technology behind that. You never heard about it. So with everything that was said before, we see that regulation is being discussed and coming, and this brings requirements. This brings high standards that the financial system requires for interacting, like for being part of this game. And we are based on three main pillars, which is obviously security. You want to interacting with blockchain. We heard about privacy, but also we want to feel secure, right? There are a lot of vulnerabilities. Blockchain is amazing, but there are a lot of possible vulnerabilities that we see every day in the news. The other one is compliance, right? We have laws and we have to obey by those rules, especially if you have, if you are in an institution, if you are in a country that has regulation. And the third is governance. You have to enforce your rules, your operations. You have to make sure that whatever happens inside your company is also protected from within, right? So regulation will bring those requirements in a certain extent, and you're going to need a more robust technology to interact with that. So we had great points here from our previous speakers, and we also, at Fireblocks, we also privileged to have a global presence and to be part of amazing projects. We hear a lot about stablecoins. So nowadays, there are close to $200 billion flowing on-chain by your customers using your platform. That is a month, right? $200 billion a month. 2/3 of this amount are stablecoins. And the more and more we hear that we want to tokenize this or we want to tokenize that, but what we need before interacting with tokenized products, we need an instrument. We need to tokenize the money. So 2024 is actually a great year in terms of tokenizing money, because you have amazing cases like you can see on Rossello's shirt and cap. Tether is huge, but we're starting to see local players. You have the largest bank in Colombia tokenizing peso colombiano. You had the three largest exchanges in Brazil together, three competitors together doing a Brazilian real stablecoin. And then even in the US, they are in a way tokenizing money. BlackRock is tokenizing money. They have a money market fund, which is pretty much backed by US T-bills, and that is a form of money, right? So this is what we see in 2024, and it's just the beginning. Not only for the cases that we are discussing here that Rossello sees every day, like import, export, cross-border payments, but also as a means to access these tokenized products in the future. So this is happening, and of course, countries like Brazil and the Brazilian Central Bank, which is a very forward-thinking central bank, they are experimenting, right? So DREX is one of those cases. We are pretty much advancing, but stuck in this discussion, privacy, which if we start talking about privacy here, is going to take too long and everyone's going to fall asleep. But the market is not waiting for CBDCs. The market is being tokenized. The money is moving on-chain. And we see that. And we're probably going to hear Ariel afterwards. It's an amazing case from Argentina of tokenizing agriculture products and so on. And he will tell a little bit more about how to interact, how important this is, right? So we are, like Pedro said, we are seeing more and more across the globe countries discussing regulation, some of them moving right in regulation. Brazil is not different. I think Aaron said that in the next 6 months we'll have a regulation in place. Chile, our neighbor here, they already have a regulation that will be in place from February. And you see other countries moving, maybe waiting for Brazilian Central Bank. We have a very important date in 3 days from now, not in Latin America, but in the US, that will definitely set the pace for what's coming next. So, yeah, I think regulation is great for this market. I think that even the most, we have an OG here, Rossello, like, even those, everyone that you know for so long in this space are now convinced that, you know, like, regulation is important, that institutions getting into this market is important. I mean, we all want Bitcoin as, at $1 million, and that we learned that's the way, right? So we are seeing these movements, and as a technology provider, we want to help these discussions evolve. We interact a lot with different regulators, central banks, securities commissions across the globe, pretty much exchanging information, expertise on best practices, on how to securely build infrastructure for digital assets. Because the correlation between that and blockchain and traditional finance is very high, but the devil is in the details. So we make sure that we also cover that. So that's it in a nutshell. I'll pass it back to you, Sarina.
Thank you very much, George. Well, my last question goes to Ariel. AgroToken opera en Argentina y en Brasil, dos de los mercados más dinámicos de la región. Quería que nos contaras un poco cuáles son las tendencias que estás observando hoy en día en el mercado.
Bueno, gracias por dejarme hablar en español, porque estoy en mi país, vivo prácticamente en Brasil y no quería hablar en otro idioma que no sea en español. Yo creo que Brasil hoy es el país número 1 en el mundo en términos de tokenización de todo. ¿Está bien? Nosotros hace 2 años decidimos mudar nuestros headquarters a Brasil porque todo pasaba en Brasil. Porque el Banco Central, por el PIX, por las regulaciones, porque la mayoría de las instituciones, bancos y cualquier tipo de compañía financiera ya están pensando en blockchain. Yo creo que veo un año, este año fue muy importante para nosotros y para todo el ecosistema en Brasil. Creo que finalmente ya no se discute de la importancia de blockchain, de la importancia de incorporar los stablecoins en el día a día de las transacciones. Veo que las regulaciones son importantes porque, como bien vos decías, al tener que incorporar activos reales al mundo financiero y poder demostrar que la transferencia de la propiedad acontece simultáneamente en el mundo digital y en el mundo real, necesariamente tenemos que interactuar con el mundo real que tiene regulaciones, que tiene formas de hacer las cosas, y si no, no estaríamos representando correctamente esos activos en el mundo digital. O sea, pensar que podemos avanzar o evoluir en la tokenización de todo, en utilizar los activos reales como garantías, sin tener en cuenta las regulaciones, sin tener en cuenta la forma en que hoy se hacen las cosas, es como no estar. Yo veo un 2025 en Brasil donde se confirma todo. Nosotros participamos ya en el Leaf Challenge, somos parte de un grupo que participa en el DREX, con GISPE, Banco GISPE y con Visa, en un ejercicio de utilizar el DREX para tokenizar garantías del agro y que los bancos puedan transaccionarlas. Veo un futuro muy promisorio en toda la industria. Obvio, yo era, o soy en parte maximalista también, en el sentido de que creo en Bitcoin, creo en blockchain como herramienta. Así que yo soy súper optimista. Como argentino que trabaja en Brasil, o que vive en Brasil, veo también una esperanza en Argentina de recuperar tiempo perdido. Así como Brasil tiene el mayor mercado de tokenización del mundo, sin duda, Argentina tiene un capital humano ligado a blockchain que también es único en el mundo. Entonces veo como que en Brasil hay que ponerle todo para seguir ejecutando, haciendo delivery, haciendo realidad, aprovechando la inercia que tiene. Y en Argentina es un momento para dejar de soñar y construir y avanzar y transformar los millones de ideas geniales que hay en proyectos concretos de volumen. Así que soy optimista.
Excelente, bueno, muy prometedora tu respuesta. Ahora hacemos de vuelta al inglés. As we wrap up, I wanted to thank you all for your valuable contributions. And we are on time, so thank you all for joining us today and hope you enjoy the conference. Thank you.
Thank you.